interview the dean of Cal State Fullerton.
So, go down and then right there to the left. Are you recording all this?
Oh.
Just want to-
Oh yeah,
He said that he didn't like that. Yeah, he told me all about it. No, I'm good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I was born and raised in Southern California. I actually was born in Downey, and then my family and I lived in Baldwin Park, El Monte, and then finally, excuse me, settled in La Puente. You guys know where that is? It's in the San Gabriel Valley. And I had come from a big family, lots of aunts and uncles and cousins, and we all lived in kind of very close areas, so we would get together a lot. La Puente, if you're not familiar with it, it's a very culturally diverse community, primarily Latino, but also African American, Caucasian, few Asian students at that time. And I went to a school called Bassett High School, which was a very good school, but also a school that wasn't very well funded. So we didn't have a lot of extra activities or extra courses, but I did well there. I grew up in a household with one sister and both parents. Now my parents, they didn't go to college themselves. They both worked the whole time I was growing up, but they really stressed education. You know, they were very focused on my sister and I doing well in school. They had very high expectations, and then they always talked about us going to college. So they prepared us that, you know, it wasn't really a question of if we were going to college, it was more, you know, where are we going to go to college. And so when I was in high school, I was very, very involved in school, and I was editor of the newspaper and captain of the drill team, and did pretty well and got honors, academic honors. And then I had the opportunity to go to UCLA. So I went to UCLA as an undergraduate and found out about working in higher education. But that's kind of where I was from, and a little bit about my history and my family.
Did you have any obstacles on
On my journey? Yeah, I would say one of the harder parts about growing up in a community and a family where I grew up and then going to UCLA, especially that first transition, was because I was the first person in my big family to go to college. I didn't know a lot about what it really took. I had you know, you see a lot of things about college and on television and in movies, so you have ideas about what it's like. But then when you're really there, I think I was surprised at how difficult the academics were. I had done very well and graduated near the top of my class in high school, but it took me a while to figure out that now I was at college where everybody graduated near the top of their class in high school. So I was in classrooms in some classes you were sort of competing to get A's because not some professors only give a number of A's and a certain number of B's and C's. And so I was now competing with people who were very, very smart and you know, had maybe come from high schools where they did have more funding and did have access to just better preparation for college. And so I struggled for the first few years. I have to be honest, my grades were not that good. I got quite a few C's, which I was not used to at all. I mean, I was very frustrated about that. So in my second year of college, I really had to focus and decide, am I going to be here or not? And stop. I also would say that because of the way I was raised, in a pretty structured environment through my high school years, living on my own because I moved out to LA, to West LA, and just being the person that was in charge of my own time and my own social life. that was awesome, but it also distracted me a little bit from my schooling. So in my second year of college, I just had to get focused and started to surround myself more with people that were very focused on their academics. And also at that time, this building that we're in is the Student Union here at Cal State Fullerton, and you can kind of see it's sort of, we call it sometimes the living room of the campus. So it's where students hang out. We have a big food court right in there, and all of our student organization offices are here. Our student government offices are here. We have a lot of big events in the big room next door. So when I went to college, I had to get a job. I had to help pay for college, and I started to work in the student union at UCLA. And so I entered this environment, and I fell in love with it, and this is where I learned about my career, the career that I have now, which is in student affairs, student services on a college campus. So that would be probably my biggest struggle. I think the other thing was just money. I was, again, both my parents worked the whole time I was growing up. I come from very much of a working class family, so we didn't have a lot of money. And so they would help me with some of my costs for college. I also got a little bit of financial aid, and then I took out a loan. And then I had to work, especially for things like gas or my car insurance. My parents and I sort of negotiated what would they pay for and what would I pay for. And then of course all of my social life, anything that I wanted to do, like go to movies or go out to dinner, I would make money to do that. And I was in college. UCLA is a fantastic first-class university. There are a lot of people there. There are a lot of people there on financial aid, but there's a lot of people there who have a lot of money. And it's also in a neighborhood in West Los Angeles, borders Beverly Hills. It's a very wealthy neighborhood where UCLA is located. And so I met a lot of fellow students who would say, let's go to San Francisco for the weekend, or are you going to go skiing this summer in Vail, Colorado? And I would just I don't know anything about that kind of thing. So I think I never felt like I was poor or that I didn't have money until I was somewhere where I was around people that had a lot of money. And so I had to do a little bit of work in myself to say, okay, I don't have as much money as some of these other students, but that's okay. My parents are working hard, I'm working hard, I'm getting through school. And so as I progressed through my years of college, I kind of had to figure that out. But that was, for a while, I would say that was a struggle, just not having as much money as I would have liked, or not comparing myself to other people who had more money. It doesn't mean they're better than me, it just is different.
If there was anything you can change, what would it be?
I would say, and I'm going to focus on my college years right now, I'm going to say probably focusing earlier on my academics. So there were, I left college with a GPA that's a little bit lower than what I wished. I left high school with a GPA pretty close to 4.0, and my college GPA was not near 4.0, partly because I did struggle in those first few years just trying to find myself and figure out that I had to work harder. So that would be one thing that I would change. I think there were some classes where my goal was just tell me what I need to do to get through this class so that I can get a decent grade and get out, rather than, as I look back on it and I think about some of the professors I had, they were amazing professors. They were people who were writing books and appearing on television, famous people. And I didn't always focus on, what can I get out of you as a teacher or an instructor? What can I learn? Or what can you teach me that would just be amazing? Because I got so focused on just what do I have to do to get a good grade. That would be something I would give you and your fellow students advice about, is it's not just about going through each step to get the grade. It's really about developing a love for learning new things. If you're in history class and learning about things that happened in the past, really get into it. Ask yourself, why did this happen? Why did the people at that time decide to do things this way? What does it have to do with us today? Or if you're reading something in English class, boy, what did the person who wrote this, what did they mean? Why were they feeling so, whatever the emotion is? So not just about checking it off the checkbox to get it done, but get into it. Because once you go through that experience, you're not going to have that experience again. So take advantage of it while it's happening right now.
Do you have any regrets that you had in your past life?
I wouldn't say regrets. Again, what I just explained about what I would do differently, that I think I wish I would have gotten even more deeply into my academics than I did. But other than that, there's not a lot I would change. There were parts of it that were really difficult, like having to work as much as I had to work. But yeah, not that many regrets. All right.
Alright, I think that'll do it.
Any other questions you want to ask me that aren't on the paper?
Can't think of any right now.
Okay, great.
Alright, thank you.
You're welcome. That's it. We're done?
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.